everyone, and I'd just like to thank you for your patience. We welcomed you to this press conference for the UnderAcademy College fake news course. This is our first and only press conference, as far as we know. I just want to thank our journalists who have come from far and wide to join us. So a couple things. If you parked outside, most of you will be towed at your own expense. We have no parking. And then also, just out of respect for our family and loved ones, we are putting the press, the journalists, over in a pen over in the corner. So if you want to sit over there, or you are still allowed to watch online, and then you can ask questions through the chat stream if you have any. And later on in the question and answer, a very abbreviated question and answer period, I will relay those because people won't actually be able to hear you. We're not giving you microphone access to ask any kind of questions. Trying to model our approach after this set of rules we got from the current administration. I think I've got it here. So all press is to remain penned. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to thank you for coming and attending this press conference, and I'd like to introduce you to our main speaker, officially our main man, as he has asked me to call him. He's our provisional provost and the co-digressor for this course. His name is Talan JWT Memmott, and he will now be speaking with you. So without further ado, here is Talan Memmott. Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. As Mark said, I'm Talan Memmott, and I'm the provisional provost of UnderAcademy College. And I have a short prepared statement that I'd like to read about fake news. I'm here to tell you that UnderAcademy's support for fake news will continue. Fake news serves a vital function in our current culture, is a valid form of communication, and must not be confused with mainstream media channels such as CNN, MSNBC, CBS, what have you. The current administration has made multiple attempts to delegitimize fake news with real news. Journalists will not tolerate the confusion of journalism with journalism. Any claims that CNN is fake news denigrates fake news as much as it does real news. It is dishonest and unfair. Furthermore, these comments demonstrate a lack of understanding as to the values and ethics that determine both, and a misunderstanding of terminology. Fake means fake. Use of alternative facts as a method of validating and invalidating communications by politicians and their spokespersons infringes on the domain of true fake news journalism. True fake news, real fake news, is in essence, is of course not apolitical, but it isn't political either. It's apathetical. Indeed, it is disingenuous to burden fake news with the fact of post-truth culture, to build a wall around fake news, to limit its potential as satire or conspiracy theory. We already understand that we live in a post-truth world in which fiction can be promoted as fact, in which fact can be dismissed as fiction. The role of fake news, or real fake news, is to examine the margins, to play at the differences between the mainstream and the maelstrom. Journalism will persevere. We will make fake news fake again. Thank you. Now I'm going to throw it back to Mark.
Okay. Thank you, Provisional Provost Memmott. Okay. Good evening. First, I just want to thank you here for being here tonight on the call, monitoring or trolling, as it were, government. Hello, Dos Vidania, Auf Wiedersehen, Hola, Aloha. I don't really know how to say hello in any other languages. I want to take a moment of silence at the beginning of my remarks, or at the top, as they stand before me on this teleprompter, to mourn the loss of truth. I know personally, I was rather fond of it. I didn't spend a lot of time with it. It wasn't the kind of thing you could take out for a beer, or, smoke a few with. It would just, but now that it's gone, I'm finding it much more difficult to lie to people, particularly because what we used to call news media, that I now have to refer to as the real news media, has decided not to use the term lie when referring to things that are lies. At the same time, it's no easier now that we can't use lie to get laid. But I just want to follow up on Provisional Provost, or PP, Talan Memmott's comments, as I call him. As a writer of fake news and other forms of fakery, I often find people casting aspersions at me, and to them I say, take your aspersions back, because otherwise I will keep them, and I will sell them on eBay. This course does not, and make sure that you hear this clearly, in any way. Some things it doesn't do. But instead, we're teaching people how to write fake news with the goal of helping them learn what fake news is, and what it isn't, and maybe how to, what it looks like when you do it in a mediocre fashion. But we're not teaching people to write fake news explicitly for profit, because certainly we're not making any profit. But instead, we're telling people that what they should have known already, that this is a post-lapsarian world. So, don't take any wooden nickels, or buy any Trump steaks, or any of those things. You got to be, it's like a hermeneutics of suspicion, I think. You might say, why would you even teach a course in fake news in these dire times? And I might say, well, who said you had to take a course in fake news? And you might say, well, my academic advisor said I needed 4 more units. And I might say, well, you get what you paid for. And you might say, you're not answering the question. You're dodging and burning. You're mixing your metaphors. You're equivocating. And I might say, I once wrote a short story called Equivocado. You might say, then, in reply, I didn't ask you about your short story. I mean, what? Do I look like your supportive uncle? And I'd say, no, you don't. He has dark hair. Yours is auburn. He has a kindly smile with an ironic twinkle in his eye, and you've got ketchup stains on your blouse. I should have mentioned that earlier. And you might say, well, this is not a blouse. And I'd say, well, then what is it? So if you're going to play these kind of games, you know, those kind of games out there on the court, athletic supporter. So, all right, well now from that, we're going to start taking questions. Now due to the fact that you have been, the press corps has been sheepdogged into that holding pen back there, without microphones or bathroom access. I'll be repeating any questions that you post online, to so that everyone can hear them. So please type your questions. That I don't know, there's not really a way to raise your hand in the group chat forum, and then we'll be repeating them. Okay, we have one question. Oh, actually, one more thing I'll mention. I'm going to reinterpret your questions dramatically because when I was in college, I took some acting classes, and I've been meaning to get back to that. So I think this would be a good time for me to do that. So let's see. Okay, we have a question. This one is for Dr. Memmott, PP Memmott. It comes to us from Middle Ohio, just says the middle of Ohio, near the RV History Museum, and it says, we hear. Oh, I guess it's probably like a twangy accent, maybe. I don't know. Is there a rural Ohio? We here in Ohio, we think that your fake news business is getting in the way of the real issue, which is the fake news that the liberal establishment is. Now there's lots of typos here. Is putting out I think it's like putting out there into the world. So there. I don't know, Provisional Provost Memmott. I'm not sure that that's actually a question, but you go and take that one, please.
Let's see. I will say that there's, again, the problem of confusing what goes on in mainstream media as fake news, appropriating the term fake news for purposes other than what they're meant for, fake news. The problem with thinking that mainstream media produces fake news is that real media, real mainstream media, actually does contain truth. On the other hand, is beyond that. We've moved beyond that, and which makes it more contemporary, more current, and perhaps more relevant. If we live in a post-truth era, then maybe fake news is the only news. So real news is so 20th century. So the one thing I really like about this question, actually, is Mark's twang. So any more questions?
Yep, there's another question in. We get one from looks like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which happens to be my hometown. Go Steelers! Not in the Super Bowl. Sorry about that. But I guess I'll read this one in a Pittsburgh accent. It says, "Hey Yins, is fake news? Is that supposed to be funny? And if it's supposed to be funny, how come yours isn't all that? How come yours isn't all that funny?" That's what it says. I'll let you take that one.
We can think about fake news as being funny, but then perhaps it's satire, which is a whole other area. And the class that we're teaching right now has to do with fake news. and not satire. I take it deadly seriously, fake news. Fake news is a product of the culture. It's a reflection of the culture. Like going back to the first question, it's like pudding pops. They're a reflection of the culture. Except I can't stand pudding pops anymore since the whole Bill Cosby thing. But yeah, so fake news doesn't have to be funny, but it's always funny to somebody.
Well, that's perfect because our next question comes to us from it's hard to tell exactly where. It's really whatever accent comes out at this point. All right, it says, I was told I could make some serious money if I just started writing some fake news. Is that true, Prime Minister Memmott? I'd like to be making some money. I could use it. It could come in handy a little bit. I'm not sure where that question comes from.
Confused as to where that question comes from myself. Is that from Australia or from Ireland? Because if you're in Ireland, you might not be able to make that much money at fake news. If you're in Australia either, but if you're public, Macedonia, I hear Croatia has a thriving fake news industry. I think Turkey might be on the list. It's really kind of an emerging field in the Western world. We're consumers. We import fake news more than produce it. But with this class, at some degree, maybe we're changing things.
All right. Our next one says it's hard to tell where this comes from as well. Again, we'll just check with the accent. It says right, mate. I have reason to believe that Sean Spicer is actually an actor that's been hired from the Trump administration. And can you speak to that a little bit? Because whenever he's eating the fish and chops, it really looks like he's got some. He's playing games with us. It seems like he's acting a role. Is that, is that sound right to you? Not sure. It seems like that person moved through the British Empire as they were asking that question.
Yeah, I really don't have a comment on that question. I'm a very close friend with Sean Spicer. This is breaking fake news. It's not a widely known fact. We've known each other for years and years. Again, breaking fake news. Sean Spicer, he's a great historian. He knows a lot. Nearly as much about Black history as Donald Trump. I have to say that. And it's phenomenal. It's tremendous. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do my Trump impersonation. Because it may be a little too confusing.
So our next question comes to us from the San Fernando Valley. Let's see. Somebody asked. They say, let's see if I can read this correctly. PP Memmott, can I ask you a question? Because I just have this problem I'm having, and the problem is, do you guys ever have like fake people taking your fake news class? Because I don't know, it seems like that would be like a real confusing thing if someone did that. But I once heard about someone taking a fake class and they were fake and they had an existential crisis. So there you go. That's a question for you.
It's. I'm sure there's nearly 150 people enrolled in the UnderAcademy fake news class. I think when we break it down, I would say that other than Mark and myself, there's maybe 0 students. So yeah, fake students in fake news in fake news classes can be a problem. But we live in a post-truth era, so we need to really consider this as the reality.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, you know, I teach, you know, the fake news class with you, and I find that despite the number of fake students that we have, that they still don't pay any attention to when we're giving lectures. So I don't know. Oh, we do have another question. I see a question here from online. A person named Jeremy Height asks, and I don't believe he has an accent at all. He says, how meta can fake get? Asks Jeremy Height. I'll throw that to you, PP Memmott. Well answered. Well, I think that was well answered. Now here's a question that comes to us from England, apparently, and it says, Governor, can you tell me what are there any historical examples of? Oh, now we're all over the British Empire again. Governor, can you tell me if there are any examples of fake news from history? I'd like to know, because I'm very interested in history, and was there any fake news in the past? Again, sort of British into Australian.
Actually, yeah, there's considerable amounts of fake news, and actually Mark is quite the fake news historian. He's actually written a few articles on fake news through history. But just thinking about that, the entirety of the Roman Empire, it just goes without a fact. You know, a few other examples. Let's see. One thing that we think of as fake news that's actually real news, that aliens building the pyramids, absolutely true. And not only has every president since Richard Nixon met gray aliens, Bat Boy exists. So, I mean, there's the reverse of this, that what we think of as real news can be fake news that is actually real news. So, Mark, do you want to talk on the history question a little bit?
Sure. Well, fake news goes back to actually the Cro-Magnon Neanderthal period, where the oldest living human, his name was it's like it was pronounced like Schmugmug, but his name was actually Sid Caesar. He once said to his buddies that his name was Schmugmug. I mean, it was almost indistinguishable, but that's an ancient language. It's almost lost to us. He said, I gotta ma, which meant you know, I gotta work late at the office, but he was actually going out drinking with his buddies. So that was the oldest recorded example of fake news. And then you got to skip a lot of periods. So you know, clay tablets, papyrus, more clay tablets, upgrades to clay tablets, you know, recalls of clay tablets that would catch fire. You know, all along that's going. Like, as soon as someone can write a sentence, they're writing a fake sentence. It's like, as soon as one of the oldest recordings that we have of like actual writing, it's people counting up how many cows and sheep they had. This is a true thing. And then, you know what they did? They added an extra couple. And that's the fake news part of that. A couple extra little hashtags and all little hashes, and then all of a sudden they had more sheep. It was magical. So, you know, as soon as there, you know, even Alexander Graham Bell, when he invented the this thing, you know, he calls up and he says, "Quick, Watson, come quickly," and Watson's like, "Oh, dang it, I can't. It's not even like I can't. Gotta take this call." And he's like, "I'm busy." And fake news. It's like right. So as soon as we have the act of communication, fake news just happens. And so, you know, and that goes for quite some time until we get to the period we call the serious 30s. No fake news. All the 30s. H.L. Mencken, he was the king of not so fake news. He tried to get away with the history of the bathtub, and you know, people just weren't having it. They're like, no, just this is the serious period. And then again, it comes in waves. You know, lots of waves. You know, all the way up to the 80s where people did the wave, and then flash forward to today, and actually past today, and then you got to rewind a little bit, so you get back to today. So that's really how I'd encapsulate, you know, several thousand years of history in just a few, you know, muttering tangents. But I think what's important here is to remember that you know, history is bunk. That's what Ford said. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it. We have another question, PP Memmott. Let me see if I can read this one for you. And it's from the deep south, and it says, "Pay Memmott. Don't you think that this era of fake news is not a laughing matter anymore? Because I got a cousin who's got some acorns, or he is an acorn, and he's real activated, and he says that it's no time to be funny, because I keep trying to be funny with him. I keep telling him jokes like, hey, there were two sheep that walked into a sheep pen, and one sheep's like, wow, and the other one's like, what's water? I think I may have mistold that joke to him, but the point is that he was like, listen, I'm like, why aren't you laughing? Why aren't you laughing? And he's like, because of this Trump fellow. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with the Trump fellow? He's like, he's keeping me from laughing. And I'm like, well, why is he keeping you from laughing? And it's like, because it's no laughing matter. And I'm like, well, let me tell you another one, like, knock, knock, who's there? Guy's always interrupting you. And he's like, guy's always interrupting me who? And I'm like, moo. I said moo right in the middle of him saying that. And he was like, well, it's not, I don't think you delivered that joke right. But more importantly, it's not a laughing time. This isn't the time when people are supposed to be laughing like that. We're supposed to be serious, because I think you get the gist of this. It goes on for several pages. I'll let you take that, PP Memmott.
Oops. Yeah, thinking about this, then, you know, sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was necessary. You know, acorns can be a little bit touchy about humor. So you know, just as a matter of advice for this person, I think they should listen to a lot more AM radio, talk radio. It's really high quality stuff. There's this guy, well, a few different people, but there's this guy, Rush Limbaugh. Laugh riot, total laugh riot, but it is fake news. You know, so maybe that will put your friend the acorn at ease about humor in this day and age. At the same time, I would like to suggest something to this person. stay away from the sheep. That's a guideline.
Well, that sounds like good advice, PP Memmott. Now we got another question that comes to us from the chat. This one says, well, there's several questions. Maybe take whatever one you would like. It says, when everything is weird, normcore comes. Will there be a future real core, a fake when all is fake news? Do you wanna answer that one?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll do that one first.
I think we're already there in terms of fake news. The idea of a future real core is interesting. I'm not going to speculate on the emergence of that. A fake when all is fake news is what we're talking about. To a certain extent, I think this is the primary agenda of the Trump administration, the spokespeople that he puts out, Kellyanne Conway and Sean Spicer. Did you know he was in the Spice Girls? Anyway, so his last name is fake. But you know, I mean, the problem with that is that this is maybe Trump's empire is going to be built on taking over truth with alternative facts, and that infringes on the rights of journalists everywhere. That's our fake news. So alternative facts is kind of a fake news. It in art form rather than, you know, Lou Grant. Where is the Lou Grant of fake news? Fake news takes work. You know, so I don't know if I've answered the question, but I think it's an important. The main problem that I see is that it's really dishonest and unfair to take up fake news and rename it alternative facts. That's unacceptable in the world of journalism. Back to you.
Okay, we have another question comes to us from the internet. It says, would orange fake news beat yellow journalism in an arm wrestle battle? I believe that that might be more. I think that's more of. That might be more of a pun than a question. I'm not sure, but I'll let you take that, Provost.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're getting near time. A couple of things I want to just mention to people, which is if you have been following this press conference, if you have additional questions, you can always post them. Go to the Fake News Reader. We'll have an article there where you can post comments, and we have an array of interns who will be sorting through those. And the best of them, they will read out loud at the end of the year intern party, where there's lots of frolicking and drinking that happens. And then also, you can find lots of resources in the Fake News Reader in West of Noblick, our online fake news site, or for the left, or Control Alt Right, our fake news site for the right, or find interesting supporting fake news facts from our think tank called the Trumpet Blow Institute. So those are all resources. They're freely available to you, even if you're not taking the course. Actually, I guess if you're watching this, you just took the course. So congratulations. You can put that on your resume. Provost Memmott, do you have any final words to these folks?
Thank you for being here, and good night.